This is Docked, a brand new realistic simulator from Sabre Interactive that puts you in control of Port Wake, a busy shipping port that has just suffered excessive damage thanks to a devastating storm. Your task is to restore and manage operations, to repair key facilities and vehicles, invest in new machinery, and fulfill high-priority contracts, all while under some tight deadlines. You're responsible for not just keeping the port moving, but growing the family business. In this video, I'll introduce you to some of the vehicles you'll use in Docked, walk through how to maintain a profitable shipping operation, and ultimately teach you the fundamentals for getting started with the game. Special thank you to Sabre Interactive for sponsoring this beginner's guide. You can pick up Docked on Xbox or PS5, as well as Steam or Epic Games Store for PC right now at just $29.99. A link to the Steam page is in the description. Now, let's get started by introducing you to a couple of the vehicles you'll be driving at Port Wake. There are a myriad of real-world vehicles and machines that you'll need to operate in Docked, all the way from the massive ship-to-shore cranes to the far more modest terminal tractor. Before you jump in, I'm going to get you acquainted with two of the most prominent vehicles in the game, and more importantly, the ones that you'll use to start your experience. Let's kick off with the workhorse of Port Wake, the Reach Stacker. As its name suggests, the Reach Stacker is utilized in the handling and stacking of shipping containers once they're offloaded onto dry land. Jump into the cab, hold B to start up the engine, and select the driving mode from the tab radial menu to get started. The Reach Stacker comes with both a telescopic boom and an adjustable spreader attachment, enabling lifting, maneuvering, and stacking of both 20-foot and 40-foot containers. Once you've chosen the spreader width that matches your container and your vehicle is in position, you can start to carefully lower the spreader and make very small adjustments to its positioning, pitch, and yaw. If you ever get overwhelmed or forget the associated keybinds, you can call up the F1 menu at any time for a reminder. What we're looking for here is all three of the UI elements at the bottom of the screen to be highlighted green. This will tell you that you're on track for a good connection as you approach the container. Finally, we're looking for both a red and orange light on the leftmost UI element, meaning that you're ready to lock the container into place by pressing R. And that's it. You can take the container where it needs to be and then press R again to unlock it when ready. If I could give you just one tip for using the Reach Stacker, it would be to start off by using one action at a time. Don't try to move the vehicle and adjust the spreader at the same time, for example. Just focus on a single adjustment at a time. As you get some time behind the wheel, you'll start to feel a lot more comfortable and it'll become second nature eventually. But for now, keep it simple to avoid damage or accidents. So that's the Reach Stacker, great for moving containers around the yard. But how do we get them off of the cargo ships in the first place? This is where the STS comes in, otherwise known as the Ship-to-Shore Crane. This massive dockside gantry is yours to command in Docked, but first you'll need to get her prepared for use. Start by entering the small control room near the foot of the crane, then lower the boom using the control panel. You can turn the lights on too if you need to, especially useful if you're fulfilling a job at nighttime. Then it's up the stairs and into the elevator shaft on your left. Select floor 4 and proceed to the operator's cabin, which you'll have a marker for on your HUD if you get lost at any point. Start the engine, and now the real fun begins. The spreader itself works much the same as with the Reach Stacker, available in 20-foot or 40-foot configurations and following all of the same major keybinds. The help panel is accessible at any time by pressing F1 if you need a refresher. Containers need to be aligned with the spreaders exactly the same as with the Reach Stacker, pressing R to lock them in place when both the red and orange lights are shown. Carry the container to where it needs to be and then press R again to release it. Now, in a pinch, both the Reach Stacker and the STS are able to utilize cables for damaged containers or abnormally sized objects. Simply select the appropriate option from the tab radial menu and you'll notice that 4 squares will appear at the corners of the spreader itself. Hold the Alt key, then select one of these corners and a corresponding attachment point on the object that you wish to carry. Do this for as many connections as you need, and keep in mind you can always adjust the cable length for each connection by holding Alt, hovering your cursor over the cable of choice, and then using the scroll wheel. Careful when moving objects in this mode, you may find that they swing back and forth if you move erratically, and this can cause damage. It'll take a steady hand and a hefty dose of both patience and perseverance experience to get some of the more obscure objects where they need to be, but you'll get there with enough practice. Next, we're on to orders and how to process them. Now, orders are the lifeblood of Port Wake and are a huge part of ensuring that you have enough funds to keep things ticking over nicely and a little extra for investments in new vehicles or the expansion of the port. They supplement the income of jobs you'll undertake and are as such crucial to your revenue stream. It can be a bit of a tricky balance trying to ensure that you're getting the most profit from available orders while avoiding any penalties for undelivered goods. So I'm going to give you a quick rundown on how to select the best orders and, most importantly, how to fulfill them in an efficient manner. Keep in mind as we go through this segment that there is always the option to have the AI give you a helping hand for a small fee if things get overwhelming. When selecting your orders, you're essentially looking to make the most revenue from the lowest amount of TEU, or 20-foot equivalent units. The only exception will be if you're trying to fulfill a milestone that requires a certain amount of TEU throughput in a single day, in which case you may want to focus on that instead. Most often though, it's all about the money. Keep in mind that some orders will have higher penalties than others if you fail to store all of their goods, so if you're choosing an order with a high penalty per TEU, just be sure you can fulfill the order entirely. Once you've selected an order, you'll move to the processing tab, which is where things can get a little bit complicated. Thankfully, you're only starting off with a shipping line, and again, AI help is always an option. Processing is split into 5 sections, the first being your available lines. Next is unloading, then transport, loading, and finally storage in the yards. You need to get all of the TEU coming in via your lines all the way through each stage and into one of your yards in order to receive payment. Each vehicle at your disposal has a total TEU allowance, representing the maximum TEU that they can handle across all stages of processing. You'll notice that certain vehicles, such as the reach stacker, are capable of fulfilling multiple steps, like transport and loading, whereas others, like the STS, are only capable of offloading from shipping lanes, so be careful not to order too much through a single line. Your other vehicles will not be able to help if this happens. Choosing from additional orders will be based on what you're already processing, which vehicles have available TEU, and which storage yards have room for more containers. If for any reason you end up with too much cargo to process, remember that the important thing is getting as much over to the storage yards as possible to reduce penalties and maximize your profits. As time goes on and you expand operations at Port Wake, processing orders will become more complex, but much more profitable too, with shipping, trucking, and railway lines available. Remember, some vehicles can only fulfill certain lines, others can be used at multiple stages across multiple lines, and the goal will always be the highest amount of TEU handled and the lowest penalties incurred. You'll get there with practice, and with new orders coming in every day, you're going to have a lot of it. Now, before we wrap up this walkthrough, I wanted to make sure I introduce you to milestones. Essentially, they represent the goals you'll be working towards and tie together all of the other elements that we've looked at so far in this video. If you want to unlock more vehicles, be able to carry out more jobs per day, and perhaps most importantly, expand operations at the port, you'll want to keep a close eye on your active milestones. It may be that you need to build up certain areas of the port, buy new vehicles, or complete certain jobs to meet a milestone goal, but as long as you keep a close eye on the requirements of your active milestone, you'll know exactly which job to take next. It's worth noting that if need be, you can always replay a recent job that you've already completed and still gain the same rewards. You just won't be able to claim any bonuses from challenges that you've already beaten. This is especially useful if a completed job is offering more resources than ones currently available through new jobs. So that's all for our little walkthrough of the operations department, but before I go, I'd like to take you on a couple of jobs with me to see just what kind of heavy lifting you'll be up to in Docked. Coming up are 2 jobs involving the STS Crane and the reach stacker. I'll talk through things as we go, and hopefully this will give you a good idea of what you'll be doing when you jump into the cab for the first time. Okay, welcome to our little demo of the ship-to-shore crane in use on a job. You'll notice we're already in the crane for this one. Unfortunately, it looks like somebody has placed these containers in the wrong place, are not properly arranged and we need to reorganize them. So I'm going to focus on getting the crane in the right place first, which will be over this container. And we'll just bring the spreader down. I've got to watch this part of the ship here on my right, because I think that will be the danger object in this one. We'll swap to our 40-foot spreader. Now you'll notice that when I'm over the center of a container, this UI element will go green. Come off to one side, it's white. Move it slightly to the right there, it goes green, which tells me I'm over the center. Now what I want to do is I'm just going to twist to the left. Should be about right, I think. Lower it down. And you'll notice that our right UI element isn't green just yet. So I'm just going to make some small adjustments. Now, I like to do one adjustment at a time. I don't like to do multiple things at once, especially when I was just getting started with this game. Keep it to one movement at a time and you won't get overwhelmed. We're going to hit X to recenter the container. And all we need to do is just move it over to the edge of the zone, I think. We've got room to move all these other containers. I'm going to get it as close to the edge as I can, just so we've got maximum amounts of space. Bring it on down. You can see the zone itself is highlighted green, telling me it's still within the area I need to move it for the objective. And we can bring the spreader away. Also on a 9-minute time challenge for this job. You usually get you extra bonuses like money. Well, this one we're already on track. You can see the red and orange light on the leftmost UI element symbolizes a good lock. Just watch this fence as we go over as well. And I'm going to put this one right next to the other container. It does take a little while sometimes for the spreader to catch up with your movement, so it's a good idea to use that little white UI element underneath it, the cursor I suppose, as a good indication of where you're going to end up. There we are. Now it looks like the rest of these containers are 20 foot, so we can change our spreader mode. You'll also notice that containers on jobs like this are alphabetized. So usually that tells you which containers are best to pick up first. So A would be the first container we'd grab, B would be the second, and so on. However, I'm choosing to ignore it on this mission. You don't have to follow it, it's just a guide to tell you what the game thinks is the best order to carry out operations. But considering all of these containers are all 20 foot, doesn't really matter what order we do them in. Just want to lower that in there. Good. Bring the reach spreader away. Now this one's on a slight angle. I've got to go to the left a bit. Again, I'm just doing one operation at a time. Now that it's angled correctly, I'm going to bring it back a tad and lower it down. Bring it up, recenter it with X, and then begin moving. And go for the middle there with the white cursor. Again, just small adjustments. That only leaves us with 2 containers left to place. Get the green highlight to show us we're on track. We're nice and centered. And we're locked. I think this is a good mission to demonstrate the STS Crane. You're doing a lot of these jobs where you're just trying to fit containers into tight spaces on cargo ships. It's all about just taking things slowly and having a little bit of perseverance. Small adjustments at a time. There we are. That leaves us with 1 more container to go. And 3 minutes to do it in. Now this one, I believe, has somehow been propped up a little bit on the edge here, but we have a green connection, so that's all we need to worry about. And we'll hit X to recenter it. Get it over the fence. Center it up, so we're not colliding with the other containers here. And bring it on in. Perfect. Nice and easy. That's a quick little demo of the STS Crane. Next up, we're going to take a look at the reach stacker. Okay, so on to our reach stacker mission. This one looks like we've had a truck have an accident here and go crashing through a fence with a container still on it. So we've got to move the container over to the truck that's waiting for it on the trucking line and then pull the semi-truck from the ditch there that it's crashed into. All right, let's get it going. This is our reach stacker. This is actually the premium reach stacker that you can get through pre-ordering the game. It's a little bit better on maneuverability, I believe. All right, let's go ahead and jump into the cabin. Okay. Start our engine. I love all the little animations that go on in the cab. I prefer the other camera view personally. but sometimes it's nice to get a look at some of the stuff going on in the cab at the time. Even the attention to detail with just like all these little warning labels as well. Anyway, on to the job at hand. So I think for this one, we're gonna kick off by approaching from this side. Just gotta watch the reach stacker as we turn it around. So again, I'm focusing on one thing at a time here. I'm not really touching the spreader right now until I get my alignment set. We go 40-foot mode, bring that up just a tad. And then we're going to extend this to pretty much maximum length, I think. Bring it down a bit. A little bit more. There we go. We're on track for a good connection now. No more adjustments needed. We've got the red and orange lights for locking. So we hit R. Green light shows us it's locked. We just bring the container up. Now, one thing to keep in mind with the reach stacker is if you've got a container hanging on like a really extended spreader connection, when you go around a corner, you do risk kind of flipping the reach stacker over if you move too quickly. So I like to bring it down a bit just as I'm traveling, kind of centers the weight a little bit more. And obviously, just keep an eye on your speed. Go as close to the barrier as we can manage. Now, I've got a bit of lining up to do. So Q, and then shift to push it forwards. Bring it on down. Here we go. All right, so that's the container sorted. We can press X, center the spreader again, spin it around, and we're going to get a bit of a demonstration here with cables. So with this being an abnormally sized object, we can't just pick it up with the reach spreader. We need to use our cables. So we're going to use the 40-foot oversized mode, bring the spreader down, and then we hold the left Alt key, select the corner of each part of the object we want to attach to. Always move your camera while doing this too. Then we just bring it up like any other container. Another thing to just keep in mind is when you're doing this, they do swing a little bit. So slow movements are best. And I'm just gonna pop this down. And when I'm ready to drop it, I just hold R. Here we are. Right, now this one is going to be a little bit more tricky. So I'm going to go for a 20-foot connection. And I think what I'm going to start with is just pulling it out of this gap. Yeah, so I think what we can do is get nice and close and we can twist the spreader to the left. As far as it'll go, but it'll work for us. We'll connect the right side ones to the front of the vehicle there. This one to the underneath. And we'll just gradually pull it up. There we are. Okay, now the thing about this is it's looking a little skew-whiff for putting it down, but thankfully, by bringing my vehicle around here, I can extend certain connections, certain cables. We'll get it arranged. I'm going to center the spreader, extend and lower it slightly. There we are. Now, I'm going to hold Alt, and you'll see as I scroll over the connection here, move my cursor over it, I can now scroll wheel to extend the length of the cable, and you'll see how that's affecting the vehicle that we're holding. So that looks about right to me. That should do it. We'll extend this one a little bit as well. There we go. And we can just lower it down neatly and detach. Excellent. Okay, it looks like at the moment this trailer is not quite in the zone, our first attachment that we had. So I'm just gonna grab this one and maneuver it just slightly. Didn't require much of an adjustment. There we are, look. Perfect. We're all done. So that gives you a little bit of a demonstration of the reach stacker and the STS Crane in use. So that's everything you need to know about Port Wake, but if you have any questions about the game itself or the various mechanics within, please do let me know down in the comments and I will do my best to answer as many as I can. Once again, I'd like to say a very special thank you to the guys at Saber Interactive for sponsoring this video, and if you haven't purchased stock for yourself just yet, you can do so using the link to the Steam page down in the description. Good luck, and I will see you all in the next one.